So today we're training push at a different gym than what I normally train push at. Now this is mainly just because it fits better into my schedule today, but normally I would not recommend to change gyms all the time. But I'll show you how I do it and how I get my programming to fit into a different gym than what I'm used to. And it's actually a lot simpler than you may think. So we're starting off with a cable lateral raise. Now this is again just to keep it simple. A cable is something that every single gym has. And if you look closely, there's actually a dumbbell on top of the stack. And this is again just to make it easier to do load progressions. So let's say that there's 10 kilos on this cable. Then the next load progression would be 12.5 kilos. So this would be a 25% load increase. And this just doesn't make sense. There's no other exercises where you would increase your load by 25% from week to week. So having these dumbbells or just smaller plates to put on top of the cable is just so helpful. I can't express it enough. Another thing is that I start off by doing the cable lateral raises. Now this is again because I need more side delt, especially compared to everything else in a normal push session. I have a very overdeveloped chest, so just having the side delt in the start will allow us to get the most out of it, whereas the things that you have later in the session is going to be less stimulated. Also, just in general, to have a lateral raise at the start is a very good way to warm up the shoulders for any pressing that you'll have on later. Next up, we have a chest press. So this is typically just a machine chest press, but this works just as well. For this piece, you should note that this is extremely heavy in the shortened position. So this is also why it makes sense to have it as the first chest press. But if you don't have it in the first set, then maybe finding a machine piece could be better. Because if you have this as like the last exercise, it's going to be very hard to progress because it's so hard to get shortened. After the chest press, we have a shoulder press, and this machine is also pretty hard to get shortened, but it's not as hard as the chest press, so this is why it's after the chest press. But other than that, there's not that much to say. You can use any shoulder press that you want. If you have a Smith machine, that works great. You can even use dumbbells, even though they are not that stable. They're still a pretty good exercise, but just any shoulder press will do the work for this. Next up, we have a close grip press. So this could also be a dip, but just some sort of tricep compound movement. For me, I don't really like dips. I just can't really connect that well with it. But a close grip press has always been so good for me. So this is again the individualization that you need to consider when doing exercise programming. Again, I have this in my normal programming, but because it's a different gym, it's also a different Smith machine. So I didn't really know what load to put on, but this isn't that relevant. Anywhere from like 4 to 15 or even 20 reps would be good. So just landing in that ballpark and it's no problem. Next up, we have a pec deck. So this is normally actually a cable fly because the gym I normally train at doesn't have a pec deck. So this is perfect. The reason to have this at the end is because a pec deck or a cable fly is very heavy in that lengthened position. This is the position that will create the most amount of fatigue and most amount of muscle damage. So having this last in the session will make sure that it doesn't impact subsequent sets. And this is again another example of me not really knowing how to load the machine, and that's why I get 4 reps. But it's still 4 very stimulating reps, so there's not really any problem with that. Next up, we have a classical single arm tricep pushdown. This is again, we're going into the tricep isolations, and we're starting with a movement that is heavy in the shortened range. Our triceps has still not been challenged that much, so we're still quite fresh in the shortened position. And again, it just makes sense to have shortened position movements at the start. After this, we have an overhead tricep extension. It's a lengthened movement, so having this at the very end just makes so much sense. But yeah, this was just a general push session. It's quite easy to have a push session at any gyms. You don't need that much equipment, but this is how it can be done. I'm not saying this is optimal, but it's pretty good and it works well for me. And there's a lot of like individualization. So one person might find something works better for them, but for me, this works very good. So that's why I'm doing it.